Right now, we are going to talk about Nintendo Switch and some of the games that people should be looking at, should have on their radar. I'm not going to presume to suggest all of these are the definitive choices for every home or every player, but these are games that I definitely recommend. And like I did with the PlayStation Buyer's Guide, and I took a look at a bunch of different parts of how people could shop for the PlayStation. I'm going to do something similar here for the Nintendo Switch. I've crafted a first five essentials collection for Nintendo Switch, which goes back right to the console's origins in 2017. And then I've got a bunch of ideas from 2020 if you want to be a little bit more current with your gift giving. But let's get started with the Nintendo Switch Essentials, and this would be for people that are maybe able to find a Nintendo Switch in time for the holidays and are gifting a Nintendo Switch or a Nintendo Switch Lite to a person. These are 5 games that I think should be in every library. Let's go. All right, number 5 in the Essentials list is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and of course, this is the fighting game for people that don't really, need to care about all of the intricacies of fighters out there, but there is a ton of depth and a ton of value and a ton of detail, and it's also a love letter to not just Nintendo, but the entire video game industry. It is loaded with so much content, it's ridiculous, and it definitely needs to be on the Essentials list. That's number 5. Number 4, I have got Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is also might appear somewhere else today in our buyer's guide. This came out this year, and it came out in the right year. I don't think it was planned that way, but holy crap, was this a nice respite from the reality that we are all living in 2020. Gorgeous game, really, really lovely kind of escape, and also a nice sense of community as well when you start sharing and following people that also play Animal Crossing. An awesome obsession. Number 3 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is, for my money, I think the best racing game of the last 10 years. It's maybe more. It's such a welcome bit of challenge, whether you play single player or even better than that when you play with other people. Although things can get pretty heated and the swears can start coming out, but it's a beautifully made game. And again, it's a love letter to a lot of Nintendo franchises, not just Mario. Number 2 is Super Mario Odyssey, which came out in the launch year of the Nintendo Switch. It is I think it's 60 frames per second. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's beautiful. It is filled with all kinds of secrets and, awesome strategies and lots of collectible items. You can change the outfits of Mario. Every part of Super Mario Odyssey is addictive and rewarding, and it's just loaded with joy. Amazing game. But number 1 is my favorite game of all time. You guys all know this. It's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This was a launch game for the Nintendo Switch, and for my money, it hasn't been topped yet. This was an extraordinary adventure which upended the whole preconception that we have around Zelda games and gave us something wholly unique and wholly original, even though it borrowed liberally from games like The Elder Scrolls. It was a magnificent addition to the lore of The Legend of Zelda with beautiful visuals and, just hours and hours, hundreds of hours of valuable and fun gameplay. So The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild deserves to be in every single Nintendo Switch collection out there. And hopefully you agree with that. But I also decided that I wanted to put some 2020 games on the list because presumably you might be buying a Nintendo Switch game for somebody that already has a pretty substantial library. So I've got some choices here. It was a little tricky to boil it down to just 10, but that's what I've done. And I wanted to also include some maybe lesser known titles. Of course, we've got some big names on there, but I also wanted to put some lesser known stuff in there as well. So here are my top 10 picks for Nintendo Switch gifts that you might want to give to players out there that love this platform. We're going to start with number 10, and this is Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, and this is going to be a bit of a tricky one. This is a toy and a game, and Nintendo worked with a company called Velen Studios, and they crafted something really cool. It's an RC-controlled car that you control through the Switch. It's got a built-in camera on it, and then they've augmented the camera image with all kinds of video game iconography that we're all very familiar with. It's very fun, but it's not cheap, but super cool idea, and if anybody gets that as a Christmas gift, they'll love it. This is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which I just recently talked about here on Vic's Basement. This is a gorgeous game, and it's kind of like a love letter to Breath of the Wild. That was the whole idea. It takes place 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, so we get to unravel some of the mystery and see a lot of the characters that we also get to see in Breath of the Wild, but the mechanics are very different, much more action-packed. Number 8 is Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which is a remake of something that came out on the Nintendo Switch, but it's augmented with some great multiplayer options and some new extra story missions and modes that we get, some familiar returning characters from previous iterations of this franchise. It's just so unique. It's a strategy game, but there's some real-time action elements in it, and it's beautiful, and it's also relaxing until it isn't. It can get pretty stressful. Paper Mario, the Origami King, is a hilarious and very accessible role-playing game with beautiful visuals and this whole, conceit of everybody being able to be folded like paper. And you're going to meet all kinds of characters. There's a melancholy streak in it, but there's also a fantastic sense of humor. And it's just a unique-looking experience, especially in 2020. It's a great fit on Nintendo Switch. Number 6 for me is Hades, and this recently came out. This is from Supergiant Games, which has excelled at making sort of isometric, story-driven role-playing experiences. This is a roguelike game where it's all about getting as far as you can on every run. So it's almost like a roguelike meets Diablo type game, but with a really cool, refined story where you get to play as all of these ancient gods, and it's really, really well crafted, incredibly addictive as well. Number 5 is Streets of Rage 4. This was an awesome surprise when it was announced in 2019, I believe, but it finally came out this year. It's on all the platforms. It's awesome on Nintendo Switch. You get to play as lots of different characters from the franchise. There's new characters that are added in. They went with this kind of hand-drawn art style, which was a little off-putting at first, but it really fits the sort of overall design aesthetic of Streets of Rage, but they also have a lot of retro content in there, too. Awesome game. This is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, a massive role-playing game that's loaded with lots of memorable characters and lots of huge epic battles and experiences. You play the Chosen One, and you have the ability to control this chosen sword, and you're fighting these mechanical creatures that keep invading the biological homesteads, and it's all up to you and your sword and your allies to be able to defeat the oppressors. It's a very well-crafted game. Number 3 for me is Burnout Paradise Remastered, which who would have thought would have run so well on Nintendo Switch hardware, but it does. 60 frames per second. It's an awesome fit because of how much, collectability there is in the game and how much exploration and discoverability there is in the game. The one knock I would give against this game is that all the stuff that you would find on the way of playing through it through the first time is all unlocked for you because it's the remastered game. But if you play it right, you're going to have that game running forever. Same goes for the Super Mario All-Stars 3D collection here, where you get Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy, 3 of the best 3D action-adventure platformers ever created. They're all up-res. They all look beautiful. Galaxy is definitely the standout here. It glows, man, and it sparkles when you see it on the screen. But it's amazing to go back and play every one of those 3 games. But the number 1 game, and I don't think this is a big surprise, is Animal Crossing New Horizons, which keeps getting new updates from Nintendo, allowing things like, the ability to celebrate a Thanksgiving-like within the game world and a Christmas-like within the game world where you can give away gifts from Santa. This is a game about, sort of coming to terms with the economy and, making sure that you pay all your bills to Tom Nook. And you can basically live a little life in here, outfit your character in the clothes that you want and build the house that you want and have relationships with all of these characters, both in the game world and also all of your friends that will also play it online. So, yeah, that's an amazing game. Nintendo Switch had a good year this year. Not the best, not the most epic year this year, but they had a very good year, and there's lots of incredible games on the platform. Even though we're in the face of all of this next-gen technology, technology, like, this little baby right here, the Nintendo Switch is still going strong, and anybody that, gets software for the platform or gets the platform itself is going to be very happy this year.